Good morning, good evening, good morrow to everyone. If you're in the past or the future, welcome to the PPC Unfiltered podcast with Corey Lindholm and Michael Nadlin. Now, this is the PPC Unfiltered podcast where we literally have unfiltered conversations about PPC running ads accounts, mostly Google Ads accounts, but also just the client management and running a company, all of the stuff surrounding it as well. So, really, the unfiltered view because we're actually doing this stuff all day, every day. We're not just sitting on ivory towers. We're not just the junior. We're people who've had a decade of experience each, and as well as like working with the clients directly and working with large clients, small clients, medium-sized clients. So today is going to be more conversations around the unfiltered approach to advertising. So Corey, how are you going, mate?
I'm fantastic. I'm happy to be with you, Michael. How's things on your end?
It's good, mate. It's good, mate. Before this call, Corey said, mate, I'm feeling a bit drained. I've been doing reporting all day, like these advanced dynamic reports, and it didn't really work out as much as he wanted it to. So we're all going to bring up Corey's energy. So by the end, he's going to be like chewing our ear off. I'm like, Corey, I've got to go, man. You're like, no, no, no. So today's goal is to educate you and inform you, but also to bring Corey's energy back to an 11 out of 10. It's at a 9 out of 10 now, but let's just bring it up 2 points. How does that sound, Corey?
That sounds amazing. I am up for it. Free energy boost.
Wonderful. So there was a few things we wanted to talk about, and I mentioned one before.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or is there anything else you reckon you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
no, let's get into it. I think we both came with this idea of talking about client expectations and results expectations, so we're going to get
Yeah,
right into it.
wonderful. So, yeah, Corey's, we'll jump onto Corey's one second because we just spoke about this one first. So, this is just something because I've been in the industry for 10 years and we're here to deliver results for clients, or ideally. The reality is getting the result and then how long to get the result or how much it will cost as well. Now, the question I was asking myself this morning was how long does it take to get results? Like what is the actual benchmark? Because we've got clients who we can get results within 1 day. And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. And then there are clients where it takes 2 months. And I'm like, we're failing. And then I see so many people online saying, no, it can take up to 90 days, 120 days. I'm like, what is the benchmark here? Because when clients do come on, this is really about the expectation and communication. They're going to ask or they're going to have some expectation of how long it could or should take to start seeing momentum. Some people go, if they don't see it after 14 days, they're like, what's happening? You know, our results were like this before we worked with you. Now it's not working. What have you done? Or people could be like, yeah, I know it takes a few months. So I want to just put it over to you, Corey. Like,
Yeah.
I've got my ideas. We're having a discussion here. How long
Yep.
do you think it takes to get results? Or when you start working with a client, how do you communicate it?
Yeah, I like to put it in perspective for people that I answer it similarly and I try to paint in the context of something we all have done or experienced, which is either trying to get in better shape or trying to maybe improve our eating habits, right?
Mm,
So, just to provide that context, I think it's very relevant. So, it's really going to be dependent on your goal. So, let's say you go to a personal trainer that has both nutritionist background as well as let's say weightlifting. So let's say your goal is a pretty simple one, which is you just want to put on some additional muscle, right? You're not trying to lose weight right now. You just want to put on some additional muscle. Okay, pretty simple goal for the most part. Let's figure out a plan. The plan's, again, because the goal is pretty simple, the plan's going to be pretty simple too, right? I'm not going to get into the workout plans, of course, because that's not what the podcast is about. But this is going to be similar to an ad account where they say, honestly, right now it's just been that sales are relatively stagnant. We would like to increase the amount of leads or the amount of sales we're getting. Okay, simple goal, simple plan. We'll create a roadmap that optimizes for volume, right? Maybe
yeah.
at the cost of efficiency. Maybe we can find opportunities with data through data analysis where we don't even have to cut down on efficiency. Maybe, right? And in some cases, someone says, okay, the goal is I went to my doctor recently, and this is not me, I'm just saying, this is just for example purposes. I went to my doctor recently, and he told me, my blood levels are really messed up. I've got high cholesterol. I've got this, that, and the other. And they said they don't know how long this is going to take. I definitely need to improve both my diet and my exercise routine. Actually, I just need to start exercising because I've
Yeah.
really been lagging on that. Well, Now we need a very complicated, complex strategy and roadmap for this person. Also, very important caveat, we're not going to be able to set expectations if that person goes, so when will my cholesterol levels be healthy again? You're
Yeah.
going to go, I wish I knew that. I wish it
Yeah.
was that simple, that if I just said lift these weights 10 times a day and eat these exact foods, that in 30 days your cholesterol will be fixed and you'll be great. You'll get back to
Yeah.
healthy levels. Just not how it works, because it's a complicated issue, because it requires a lot of nuance, and that roadmap is going to be more complicated. So I hope that provides some simplified context as to how we also approach it as consultants or managers when we're looking at onboarding an account or just working with an account that's very new to us. We're probably going to be looking at in those regards of how difficult or complex is the goal. That also is going to add complexity to the roadmap that we build. So I think that's a good starting place.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the day, like similar to the body example, is each business is different. So people may look the same. They may be a bit overweight here or need to do that. But then the fundamentals of their genetics may be that you put the same effort or same actions, and then one person can get it in a couple of weeks and one takes months. So it's the same as the fundamental in the business, which you can't predict. Like you could do the same strategy or the same types of strategies with one business as another. One goes overnight, one takes months. So there's not an element of randomness. There's just an element of time. So, but Corey, people go, but okay, so how long is it going to take though? You're like, I don't know, but like, give me a ballpark, a week,
Yep.
a month,
So
6 months.
when it's going to be, yeah, exactly, because that's still important to give some kind of rough estimate. Now, again, it will definitely be dependent on how complex the issue is, but I would say generally speaking, if we're talking about most accounts, let's say the, I don't know, 5,000 a month to maybe the 2,000 a month to like the $20,000 a month in US spend. Let's say they're getting 50 to 100 conversions, primary conversions a month. I'm still, even in that case, going to probably say this is probably a roadmap for like 3 to 6 months, depending
Sure.
again on how complicated the goal is going to be. Reason being is because if I say a week and I'm only getting 10 conversions a week or something like that, to me, that's really an unethical place to be. And it really puts me in a really dumb position where I'm still waiting for statistical tests to be significant, and they're not. But now the
Yeah.
client is like, well, wait, I thought you said in a week or two we could already improve results. I'm not going to put myself in the position, and I don't want the business to think that it's that simple. Now, there's going to be accounts out there, Michael, right, where they've just been neglected so badly for so long, and you could look at it and go, yeah, this we could probably turn this around very, very quickly, maybe even like within a couple of days, as long
Yeah.
as it's a weekday or something, right? And then that's true, but is that the expectation I'm going to set? Probably not, because there's still
Yeah.
going to be nuance to it. There's going to be some campaigns that do better than others. Sometimes what you think is going to be a home run is not going to hit, and that's because of
Yeah.
factors that are external to Google Ads.
Wonderful. I couldn't agree more. And the fact around budget leads to the point around conversion volume and
Mm-hmm.
data. And the more conversion data and volume you have, you can shortcut that time. So if you've got $1,000 budget a month and you're only getting 10 leads, that's very different from if you have $10,000 a month and you're getting 100 leads, because that time period is you're getting more outcome based data for one, you to use, to you to analyze, you to take action on, and for the algorithms to use as well. So you do need statistical significance. So part of it is, and to answer the question, is how long does it take? It does depend on your business, your conversion numbers and volume, and also your budget as well. And it is more of a dynamic thing rather than it will take 3 weeks,
Yeah.
2 months, 5 months. It's really about how much are you spending, how much data do you have, and are there like if there's really clear um, things being neglected in the account, like settings, structure, setup, those things are really things where we see overnight successes. And if it's just similar as like the account's going well, but the budget's underspending, or this, like I'm so used to, because the way I've been programmed through advertising is get the results fast. That's just like and that's something I need to break away from still. But that's why I'm asking this question, because you've mentioned 3 to 6 months. In my head, it's like 1 month. So, and that's maybe just a really high expectation or standard I hold, but also it's unrealistic most of the time for most businesses, because this is a long term investment for a long term success. It's not an overnight win.
Yep. And not to
And
beat a dead horse, because I talk about it a lot, but sometimes there's going to be seasonality involved in an annual basis, a month by month basis. So if we were to say we didn't do a seasonality analysis, let's just say at the account level, and all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, I think 1 month based on what I'm seeing. And you didn't realize that this upcoming month is like their top 1 to 3 down months. Well, you kind of just set yourself up for failure. So you
yeah,
need to be able to give yourself the time to look at the data, to kind of get an intuition about the data inside of the account. Um, and I think it's you got to be patient with yourself. You also need to set those expectations with the client, that this is a matter of analyzing the data to find opportunities and always figure out where we're going to spend more money or take money away from. It's really what
yeah,
this is. In order for us to do that, we need data. The more account history we have, maybe that can speed up the process. But even then, I mean, 3 to 6 months gives us as an agency wiggle room to try stuff. And sometimes we're going to try things and they're not going to work. Other
yeah,
times we don't think it's going to work very well, but it's the best idea and it does amazing. I mean, sometimes
yeah,
that's just a matter of market fit or something that's unexpected that Google's algorithms can figure out that we just can't see. We don't have the data to support.
yeah,
I think also a big point is risk aversion, right? Understand going into this as a client or as a marketer that's handing this over to an agency or someone to manage the account, you need to have a fair understanding, a reasonable understanding of your aversion to risk. How quickly are you needing these results, and are you willing to take the necessary investment, the risky investment, to push a lot of money to get that data to do that
yeah,
quickly? Because otherwise, if you're trying to be very conservative with changing or making optimizations, making changes in the accounts, you're very conservative. You're like, hey, let's be slow and steady in terms of our changes. I don't want too crazy of budget changes or target changes or setting changes. I don't want to completely gut the account. But we do need to double our MER by 1 month from now. It's like that's two things.
yeah,
Those are two different things at once, and
yeah.
you're not going to get what you want out of that.
Yeah, Corey. And I think this is something that stung me a lot is really having a binary option for clients. If like for lead generation, for example, it's either you want to get more leads or you want to lower your cost per lead, but you can't have both. Which one's more important? They're like, oh, yeah, we want to increase our leads, but we don't want them to go up too much. Not, and it's really going, that's not how this works because when we're trying to grow your leads, it is going to blow out. And if it doesn't, you can reward me. But if it does, that's the standard. And it's really this thing of everyone's wanting effectiveness and efficiency at the same time. The effectiveness of the growth and the efficiency to keep the same CPAs or ROAS goals.
Yeah.
And this is not that world doesn't exist anymore. Like I'm saying that as a generalization to like lower the expectation. Most of our clients continually grow and scale continually with the same CPA, lower CPAs, or the same ROAS or higher ROAS. But that's because we're experts at what we do, and it takes months and months, maybe years, to get to that point. But the reality is most people like have the expectation of like I want more results at a lower cost, and
Yeah.
it's like that is an expectation the same as the time where you've got to kill that early on because you're just going to be fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
Because I've had those conversations earlier this year and I realized like, why didn't I just call this out? Like that's ridiculous to think you you can have both and not even can that's the expectation
Yeah.
rather than that's like the goal.
I think sometimes a client or someone hiring for management, they need to. I think what they need to do better is going into the relationship, recognize: are you looking for a quick fix, or are you looking for a well thought out, strategic um, investment? Are you looking for a business partner that is going to consider the entire funnel, that's going to consider other channels inside of their analyses and your business data? Or are you just looking for someone to set up the campaign and just get it profitable, and then you're just okay to kind of let it ride from there? But don't
Yeah.
confuse yourself, because I think some people want the quick fix, but then they kind of over time go, actually maybe that's not really what we wanted. We actually wanted a marketing partner that could help us really find the opportunities across our business, and we want to scale. We don't just want, you set up a new campaign, add a bunch of negative keywords. I think most clients, once they get success, whatever that means for them, that's how they transition their thinking. Is they go, yeah, you know what? this is great, but now we're working with this other agency that asks me questions like I do this, or Michael does this. We ask questions beyond Google Ads. We're saying like, so, how's inventory doing, right? Like, how are things going there? Or in lead generation, how's whoever who's answering the phone, is she still the one answering the calls? Has
Yeah.
anything changed inside of your sales team? And they're surprised because nobody else has ever asked them that before. But these things we understand are core to the success that we are trying to generate.
Yeah.
And so you have somebody that sets these, we were just talking about this before the call, you have agencies that make these promises as to results. And they say like, yeah, no worry, like that agency you're working with, they must be terrible because we could get you these leads at this cost, at these CPCs, get you this many results per month. And they've never even worked on the account. They maybe just browsed the account for 30 minutes to an hour. They're just trying to get the sale, right?
Yeah.
But you have to understand there's a clear incentive for them to make those things up to try to get the business and then maybe lock you into a contract. And they never expected to be able to get your results in the first place. They're just trying to steal you from another agency. So just be very
Yeah.
careful with that. Not everybody. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Sometimes just because they have this system that they claim to have that's going to fix all your problems, that system might be so generic in nature that it really doesn't move the needle for your particular business.
Yeah. Systems for your business are not going to work. Every business is different. You cannot cookie cutter a Google Ads approach to a business. And there's two ways we can quickly go about this. Number one is the expertise. So if people are really going for that positioning of like results, they're usually beginners to intermediates because realistically, you cannot guarantee results in this industry at all. Like, yes, do it. But the reality is there's no area of life that you can guarantee results. If you
Mm-hmm.
did that in any financial company, doing it like you're a private wealth advisor, you'd get sued and lose your license. If you did that as a medical professional, you'd do it. It's the same in any single field. The only one it's not is like law, where it's like no win, no fee, which is very different from we'll guarantee you'll win.
Right.
Guarantees are only good with a toaster from Walmart or a toaster from Target. Like it's for good, but for professional services, guarantees are not, it's just not worth it because it's going to burn money and time. And this is what I was saying to Jack or in our team was we don't guarantee results. We never have, but we guarantee expertise. We guarantee we'll call out shit when it's there, and we guarantee we'll bring the highest level standard of insight, analysis, and optimization. But we can never guarantee outcomes because the reality of it is it's not even like slightly in our like ability to do it. A lot of it's business problems, a lot of it's competitive, a lot of it's market forces, a lot of it's just like Google's algorithms as well. Like we can highly influence it and guide it, but we cannot guarantee it. That is ridiculous. That is like saying I'll guarantee you that Corey will do this for you every day. It's like, no, Corey has free will. Corey's another human. I can say I know Corey's an expert, but I cannot force him or force anyone or anything to do anything. So that's a really big one where results guarantee. I'm happy to be called out for this. Like, I've spent $100 million in ads. I know what I'm doing and I know I cannot guarantee it. I do not know anyone in the world, honestly, and maybe Corey, you are the person because I haven't asked you. I don't know any individual in the world who's spent more on ads than I have. And I'm like, and I think sometimes I'm like, why am I richer than I am after I've spent all this? Because the reality is, I'm not selling the guarantee, I'm selling the expertise, which most people realistically, lower tier businesses want the guarantee. And then they leave their agency and then come to us with like, and then we're trying to like fix all their traumas and like try and recondition them to think like, hey, it's not all that bad.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing, Corey, was just an example was this person. Uh, they consulted with you. They worked with me. I increased their ROAS from like a 3x to a 4x, and they were spending 100 plus a month. And they just wanted to keep growing, like the whole scale world. That's kind of a big red flag. If their goal is scale from the start, I'm like, "Ugh." And the results were good. And they're like, oh, we're going to this agency who can promise us this. I'm like, okay, dude. And then they came back and their account was damaged and everything was horrible. And that guarantee with this huge e-commerce agency that guaranteed all the things, guaranteed the doubling of ROAS or the doubling of revenue with ROAS staying the same. It's the same story every time. So you can pay the price of trying to get the guarantee, which will be usually bad, or just pay the price of just hiring an expert. So,
Yep.
Corey, that's my rant over for that little bit. What are your
I
thoughts
love
on
it.
everything I
Yeah.
just said, mate?
I just wrap it up, and I agree with everything you said. But look, I would just as much as anybody else, I would love to have a guaranteed investment. Who in the world would not say, "Yeah, I'm willing to risk a dollar to win $2 every single time, and as long as I'm guaranteed to get the $2, of course they're going to do that." But
Yeah,
look, that's just not reality. There's no place, at least on this planet, where you can get these guaranteed results. It's just
yeah,
not it's not reality. So I don't know what makes people think that advertising or marketing is going to be any different. I always think about it from just the core, the basics of marketing. If you learn anything about marketing, what about it makes you think that there's any guarantees that you're going to get a sale? I mean, it's all about
yeah,
being creative to get the sale. In other words, it's not easy. Otherwise,
yeah,
there'd be no content to put out there, right? So I guess that's my final
yeah.
thoughts. Is we'd all love guaranteed investments, but snap back into reality. Understand that you are, like Michael said, just looking for an expert who can work with your data and find those opportunities to accomplish whatever goal you have.
Yeah, excellent. And
Yep.
last thing on that is advertising, treat it like investing. There is
Yep.
no investment ever throughout history that had guarantees that actually was worked. All these guarantees around stuff have always crumbled unless people
Mm-hmm.
are like, no, but this random crypto thing actually did guarantee. It's like, okay, dude, it's really just like this is a financial investment. It's not an expense, it's an investment. You can never guarantee anything with investments, ever,
Yes.
ever. So there
Perfect.
we go. Nice. So, Corey, let's jump to our next segment, which is drum roll. I'm trying to think. Is there any
Let's
news?
let's go into the news. I was just gonna say,
Yep.
let's go into the news. We've got a hot one today. Michael, can you pull this up for us? The sunsetting of eCPC, enhanced
Oh,
CPC. A bit of a tragedy. I'm not using it in a ton of my accounts, but I think it's still worth covering. And I think obviously there is a piece to be said about what this means and how it continues to play into the journey of where Google wants this all to go eventually.
definitely. I was chatting to the team about this week. It's very interesting about just these little things that have been there through the whole journey,
Yep,
and
been there a long time.
now they're not.
Yeah,
So basically, the summary is everyone enhanced CPC, which is basically a way that allows Google to bid more on manual CPC. Usually, manual CPC is a price top, like the absolute top you're willing to pay. By turning on this setting, it allows Google to bid a little bit higher. Usually, is it about 20%, Corey?
yeah,
Bit
20,
higher, not
30,
crazy
something like
higher,
that.
on the actual maximum CPC if they believe there's data to indicate that this person is willing to buy. Like there's a high conversion intent. So it's kind of like one step closer towards the maximized conversion or target CPA type of mentality.
Yeah.
And yeah, did you want to chat about this?
I
I'm
was just
happy
gonna
to
say,
see
yeah.
my thoughts.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I always thought it was ahead of its time because I almost saw we were gonna get a better version of enhanced CPC where it is
Yeah,
this nice middle ground of like manual control, or at least limitations, boundaries within the automation, but then allowing the opportunity for the automation to do what it does best, which is recognize opportunities based on data points that I can't see and that I don't have. That's
yeah,
awesome. That sounds very futuristic. And it sounds like what we all kind of want is that nice middle ground where we're both doing the best at what we do. But in this case, Google has decided to sunset it, and you're going back to either just manual CPC or a fully automated bid strategy.
yeah. This was when I reflect on it, I'm like, this might have been Google's first smart bidding or algorithmic kind of like play because this was around 7 years ago. This has been around like a long time,
Yeah.
like a long, long time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's probably like when I look back at all the advancements that happened, especially over maybe the last 5 years, 6 years, this was like the first one that was trying to do anything beyond like manual CPC, just trying to add like a little bit of salt and pepper or spice on top with a bit of like algorithm before. Yeah, it's interesting this is going because I still use it, especially at the start of campaigns when we're launching and I just want to have maximum control over the maximum CPC. And then things are looking good. So once we're getting results, I'll put the enhanced CPC on just to see, get a bit more, and then move it over to maximize conversion. So it was a really,
Exactly.
it was a bridging stone for me. Like it was
Yep.
like kind of like step 1.5, right? Like step one was
Yes.
like manual CPC, 1.5 was enhanced CPC, step two was target CPA after I
Hmm.
was confident in the quality of the leads, the volume of the leads, and the cost per leads.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, it's strange because once again, something else is being pruned away from our Google world. And we just got to think about what's the long term impact of this. Like a lot of people might be like, yeah, I don't use it, but is this just the last stand before manual's gone? Because I think manual CPCs is like the last manual thing that's remain. Like it is like all the other bidding
No,
models.
I think that's the same thing. Argument against them sunsetting standard shopping is there is a large group of large advertisers, and by large
Yeah.
I mean high spend, that require certain brand protections and certain
Yes.
levels of things. And Google does not want to lose that revenue, so they're
Yeah.
keeping those things around. I think this is just a way that they go, well, we could take this out, but still can't take the full
Yeah.
manual. Think this is just a step towards that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon because those are some large revenue streams for Google.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's really even in those cases, like the legalities of it, like the negative keywords and the keywords, is there's a lot of industries in the world, like in the last segment, we were talking about like finance or medical, where you just cannot have algorithms just spitting out stuff. You need to have humans quality checking it and also humans being blamed for it because Google does not want to take that blame of like random AI written copy about people looking for healing centers or, you know, high return investments and then just something randomly spits out because it scrapes it accidentally from a page. So I find this there are always consequences when things are being taken away. The reality is Google started off as an extremely like fully manual channel, and they're trying to like move to a almost automated channel where Facebook never really had that manual. Like there was manual, there's still manual parts to Facebook, but there was always a high part of it being driven by algorithms
Yeah.
and data. So Facebook, Google never start off with that. So that's why Facebook can always pivot towards more of their things because like basically they started that way. Google
Yep.
didn't. And there's a lot of people and advertisers who are old school advertisers. Most people are still old school advertisers. There are not many new Google Ads people. Like I don't think there are that many new Google Ads people in the world. I feel like a lot of the ads people I know of and know consistently are still old school people. I feel like a
We
lot
need
of
to.
new people are going towards Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and all these other newer
Mhm.
channels or more strategy rather than boring old Google.
Yeah, that would be an interesting poll. Like include that in
Yeah.
the next yearly review. Yeah, that would be interesting to see how many people just started within the last year versus the last
Yeah.
3 years. I think Dwayne of shoot, I'm blanking on his company. Sorry, Dwayne, but he has a poll on Reddit, I believe, that kind of gives like, salaries and stuff like that. It might give a rough
Yeah.
idea of years of experience. But another take I just want to add to this is where do we go from here, right? Let's say you rely on this heavily and you're kind of panicking because a lot of your accounts lean on this. That could be you're an agency that mostly uses this for accounts that are lower conversion volume, and you've just found over the years that the target CPA is a target ROAS, the max conversions without the max conversion values without any settings or any caps. Those just tend not to work well for you, and you think it's because there's not enough click and or conversion volume in the account for Google to do a good enough job. And you've just found that eCPC, enhanced CPC, is the perfect middle ground. It can bid a little bit more. It knows something you don't, and therefore it can bid a little bit higher than you manually setting bids because it's doing that in real time, right? Now, let's say you run into this problem now where you don't have this option. I would say the next logical step would be one of two things. One's the basic one is the more advanced one. Me, Michael, I'm always going to give the advanced people a little extra bonus tip here.
Yeah.
So the basic thing, it's a little bit risky, but I think it's the closest you're going to get to eCPC is going to be a target return on ad spend with a max and or minimum CPC, right?
Yep.
So you can set that with portfolio bidding strategies. I'm old now. I don't even know if that's what they call them anymore, but I think it's still portfolio bidding strategies
Yeah,
is
I
what
think
they
it
call
is.
it.
Do you
Um,
use that much, by the way? That's the
yeah.
practicality. Do you use it
Oh yeah.
much?
Absolutely.
Often?
Yeah. Especially for like standard shopping campaigns. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Okay,
Hmm.
cool.
Yep. So I think that's a good, you can do a quick spreadsheet, try to figure out, roughly speaking, if you're not really advanced with data analysis, you can't work with code, whatever. You could do a spreadsheet, try to figure out where are those points of diminishing returns, roughly speaking, where you could do a scatter plot for this, and just try to figure out, at what point of cost per clicks do I start seeing less conversions or about the same conversions, right? So you can plot this out and just try to figure out, okay, over a large sample size of, let's say, daily data or something, or weekly if you want to smooth the outliers. If you can get rid of the outliers, again, getting a little bit more advanced, that'll be even better. But roughly speaking, on a given day, a given week, given month, where are those CPC averages that we don't find that as those CPCs are going up, conversions are going up either at the same pace or a lot more or at all? In that case, you might start your target return on ad spend with those max CPCs bid limits on around that level. Now, I'm not going to tell you whether it needs to be exactly that level or not because nothing is perfect in this. Just get somewhere around that number. It's a good way to start. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, obviously bring it down a little bit. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, give that target return ad spend a little more room, be a little bit more aggressive, obviously bring it up a little bit. It's totally up to you. It's dependent on your own situation. If you're more advanced, do a polynomial regression analysis, figure out where those points of diminishing returns are. It's very similar to the scatter plot. It's basically what you're going to be looking at, but you're going to run and apply an appropriate regression model, whether that's using a lasso method or a ridge method or whatever, and you're going to figure out where is mathematically that point of diminishing returns, whereas CPCs go up, amount of conversions, maybe it's conversion volume, maybe it's your value per clicks start diminishing, and then you can know that you're going to set that as a max bid limit, or alternatively with all of these, advanced or not, figure out where that level is and then set that for your manual CPC keywords. And it's a good start. Just know you're going to probably have to spend a little bit more time optimizing, and you're going to have to look at your bid adjustments at the segment level, your devices, your geographies, all that good stuff, because Google was taking that into account with the enhanced CPC. And if you're not doing that with your manual campaigns, make sure you're getting into that as well. Make sure you're optimizing across those segments. This is where things get more complicated, but I'll leave it with that.
Wow. Deep.
I guess
Yeah, I
so.
don't even know what to add to that. Uh, Going over this quickly, like we were just saying, I didn't actually read this. Over a decade ago, Enhanced CPC, our first smart bidding strategy. So there we go. It was their first smart bidding strategy. Was introduced. Since then, we've launched more sophisticated learning driven bid strategies like maximize conversions with optional target CPA and then all those other things. So these strategies have potential to deliver comparable or superior outcomes
Yeah.
as we
Optimization
transition.
scores are better.
Yeah. And search display will phase out enhanced CPC. It's by March 2025. So obviously they always do give a long window, but some people might find that's not enough.
Yeah.
If you're tracking conversions, we suggest switching to maximize conversions or maximize conversion values based on your goals. Otherwise, if you don't have conversions or value-based goals, consider using maximize clicks. And yeah, I think it's just kind of like a bit. It's just things are being taken away. Like maybe this is just evolution, Corey. Maybe we're just two old men who just want things to be like the good old days. And the reality is, a lot of these smart features are powerful. Most of them are not. And most of them, even if they are powerful, they're misused.
Mm.
You can do a lot of things with a lot of powerful things, but most people, when they're given power, they misuse it or accidentally use it. So I think the reality here is they think they're making it easier. It's just for most advertisers and most businesses, it creates a lot of it just can really start to trip them up.
Yep. Yep.
So
So I think it's a quite a loss. So RIP ECPC.
RIP. Yeah, you know it.
All right.
So excellent. So we've done news. We've done a bit of insight and rant.
Rant.
Let's do some questions, Corey. Now,
Cool.
do you have
Oh
any
yes.
questions?
All right. You got some? I got a few. These are the leftovers from last week.
Let's turn some. I'm actually just going to get some right now.
both going to open up our LLMs, our Chat GPTs, or whatever we use, Perplexities, or whatever.
That's literally what I'm doing right now because I actually find it really insightful because it gives me
Yeah.
a wider perspective because it's scraping, um, it scrapes like Reddit and stuff and looks at all the questions people are thinking about. But actually, I'm going to let you do it because I'm actually looking at these and it's more like what and how questions rather than
Uh,
actual like yes or no.
well, there's also ChatGPT. They're speculating within the next couple of weeks that their strawberry model is coming out. And what's really cool about this, Michael, is it is going to be it's going to be a reasoning engine model. So instead of it
Okay.
just answering your question right away, like we see now, it's actually going to quote unquote think about the answer before it responds. How
Mm,
cool is
good,
that?
good,
Yes.
good. I feel like Perplexity does that because it actually references where it pulls the information from. So I get that sentiment, but I don't really like. I have
I,
a
I doubt
subscription.
it. They spent billions on this model. I don't think that company has that kind of funding. I could be
Oh,
wrong, but
really? I
yeah.
find Perplexity actually much better, by the way. Just like I find that the answers are better, they're more
Yeah.
human, and every time you ask it something, it actually references where it got the information from. So I'm like, well, at least it's pulling it from different sources, not like with ChatGPT. I'm like, where the hell is it? What is your source? Like,
You
is
can
this
ask
just,
it, but yeah.
but it's like
It,
usually like some SEO blog post on someone's website for just like content because that's most of the
mm,
internet.
yeah.
Um,
One sec. I'm trying to find. I had a whole thing.
I'm going to ask you some questions because these are actually good. Like, they're actually not good
Please.
questions, but they're actually make you think. Like, it's going, is it difficult for specialists to justify cost per click values to clients in competitive industries?
Say it again. Is it
Is it difficult for specialists to justify it?
difficult for specialists to justify that the cost per click is like a lot? That
Yeah.
kind of thing? Is it difficult to? That's a weird question. Is it
I
difficult
know
to
it's a weird
just?
question. What I'm thinking, because I know this, it's like I've got clients in the past who it's like they've got a high ticket product in a highly competitive industry, and they're like, I don't want to spend this much on a click. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
well, that it is difficult because you got to tell them like the reality of this, but then you're also being almost blamed for that. It's like, why can't you get it? Not that they're blaming you, but they're going, no, I need it to be cheaper. It's like, well, this isn't Magic Land.
I mean,
Like,
you're right. It's the way you said that. No, look. At the end of the day, when I went to the Google training, at one of the Google complexes forever ago, they talked about this too. It's like explain to your grandma, why how the the auction system works, and it's again just reminding clients like why are we shouldn't be focused on CPCs. We should be focused on CPA, ROAS, MER, CAC, NCAC, whatever your
yeah,
profitability metric that's important to your businesses. The CPCs, those other metrics I mentioned, the CPCs will result in those things, but in some cases, your CPC average, which I think is always a problem, we got to be careful of averages, right? Because outliers are going to skew that average
yeah,
and bring it one way or another. Looking at average CPC, you've got to put it in context. Are we talking non-brand search? Are we talking brand? Are we talking shopping? Are we talking
yeah,
shopping of certain AOV products that are really high versus low products? You've got to put it into perspective. If a client is looking at the account and saying, why are CPCs $3.50? Back in the old days, we used to spend no more than $2.50 on a click. It's like, yes, but things as more value
yeah.
is apparent for something, the amount of investment that
Demand.
people want to put
Yeah,
towards it and demand goes up, so competition goes up. This is just basic economics. I
yeah.
don't think it should be that hard for most clients to understand if you just
I
put it in that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I would still disagree, Corey, with you. I feel like a lot of people, these people have been doing it for a while, still have an expectation of, cost per leads were this much years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a force of cost per click times conversion rate or divided by conversion rate, one of them. And just trying to do my quick maths, how like all
It's
these
all good.
formulas in my head, and it's just like it's that expectation management, and some people are so ingrained. It really is ingrained, especially
Yeah.
when you've got like people who've been running ads for like 8 to 10 years. Like these new advertisers for e-commerce, very different. But when you're doing lead generation for companies that have been doing it a long time,
Mm-hmm.
awesome clients to have. But then you've got to really just like you're trying to fight this thing where they're trying to like go back to the good old days of just like, this, and it's like, well, the maths don't add up. Like, if your conversion rate's the same, awesome, but like the cost per clicks are going to go up, so naturally the cost per lead will go up. So the only way you can mitigate is by having a higher conversion rate, which requires a lot more than just tinkering in the Google Ads account. That's usually a website experience, your offer, landing pages, all these other things.
Yeah.
Um,
I just think CPCs are a diagnostic metric, right? There were results of how much you spent on a click, but that click is, how much you pay for it. I mean, you're talking about comparing years of cost per click data. That gets real messy real fast. Not only campaign type, ad type, like I said, product type,
yeah,
the competition in that auction, the keywords that you were targeting at the time, what match
your
types you were using, the negative keywords that you were
positioning
blocking, the
or
search
impression
terms you're
share,
showing
like,
up, the
yeah, were they
positioning that
top of
exactly.
page or like your
There's
lower page?
so
Like, yeah, it
much.
was like 50 cents for us like 3 years ago, and now it's like $5. Like, dude, like your impression share was less than 10%, like, and it was like 90% lost to budget and bid or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's the other thing.
Quality
So
score. There's
yeah,
so many things, and most people are not using scripts to track their quality scores over time.
yeah,
So for all we know, before we took over the account, quality score has been going down, every
yeah.
year, and it's just because they're targeting or whatever. The landing page has been the changes they're making are making it worse, or who knows, right? But that can all be in effect, and we just can't see that because you can't look at historical quality scores as much as we wish we had that.
So
You
Corey,
can
do you
track it
think
over time.
I reckon this was actually a good question by me trying to this
Perplexity.
justify costs, because it is quite complex. Like there is a complexity to it. It's not just like, it's expensive or it's not. It's like there are so many layers towards it, and then their expectation of why it should be cheaper. It's always, they don't go, oh, why isn't it more expensive? It's always like, why isn't it cheaper? There's so much historical context towards that for them, their business, what their experiences with ads, them not understanding the industry, the competitive of the nature. Like there are so many things there. So
Yeah. Hey, I wish gas prices were what they were in the 90s or
yeah,
something,
man,
right?
during
But they're
COVID,
not.
80 cents. Woo!
There you go. Supply and demand. To learn a little basic
Yeah,
economics, guys. Yeah.
yeah. So that was my one question. I'm not going to ask any
Okay.
more because that will take up like the rest of the episode. And we've got about, a few minutes left. Corey,
Oh
let's
wow.
go through some of yours. Can you find them, or is it?
Oh, I got him. I got him. Okay,
Yeah,
so let me
sweet.
find a good one here because we gotta follow that one. How about when targeting new markets or languages? Simply translating your current ad copy into the local language is enough. Would you say that that's okay most of the time, or do you think
I would say
there's
all of the time, especially in highly regulated industries like finance and medical, it's perfect just to put into Google Translate.
okay?
Not.
Okay.
Definitely not. You need to make sure that it makes sense and it's being translated properly. Now, I'll just say this, I've never done that before. Actually, we've had one client that was in South America, but we got them to do all the copy. It's like, you need to make sure, like, grammatically it makes sense and just like, it just makes sense. And also, you're not saying anything too wild. Like most
Yeah.
industries, you can just say things in ads, but if you're in a sensitive industry, phrasing things wrong or like not having a negation word or like, having something like not this or that thing could be horrible.
Yeah.
So, but that's just me just saying stuff. What
Oh,
about you, Corey?
as
What do you
someone
think?
who travels internationally all the time, like I'm one of those crazy people, I hear this type of stuff. Like I was just in Colombia, and uh, you know the way that let's say people in Mexico refer to something or use this sort of slang. If you were to say that in Colombia, that's really offensive, and you should never say that. But if
Yeah.
you were in Mexico for 6 months and you heard it all the time and no one was ever offended, then you went down to Colombia and thought, hey, Spanish is
Yes.
Spanish, you would be very mistaken. You might get your ass kicked. So, yeah, there's
That's
little
like
nuances at the local
Australian
level.
English. There are things we say in Australia, which I won't say on this podcast, that Americans would find, or most human beings with the soul would find extremely disturbing. So I know the feeling, even in the English speaking.
Hmm. All right. Ooh, this is a good one. I don't know if we have the time for this one. Maybe we'll save this one for another episode. I've got a hot tip for us just to wrap this up.
Cool. Yeah. Hot tip.
All right. I think we missed this segment last week, so cue in the graphics editor. All right. So,
Mhm.
hot tip of the week. I want to get into. I'm going to tell a little mini story. It's going to take like 1 minute, and then it's going to reveal the tip. Okay, so I
Okay.
shouldn't have said that. I'm going to get canceled.
Reveal the tip, Corey.
Don't reveal the tips, guys. Okay,
Corey said
this
that,
is
not
getting off the
me.
rails already. I
If
need
you're
more
offended by
coffee.
what Corey says, you can come to Market Lead. It's okay. We accept everyone. Not everyone,
Oh
but
my goodness. Not everybody. Okay. So I was doing, I was applying a more robust model to a seasonality analysis the other day. And the one I had done before was not as robust and it didn't take into as many factors as I would have liked. So I integrated more data into it and then actually found an insight within doing that that I wouldn't have found otherwise. And essentially, it just reminded me of how important this is to always consider outliers when you're looking at your data. But more specifically, you actually might find a case like we did where the prior month, it was our highest total sales month in 4 years. But if you didn't, that was with outliers removed. And they do a lot of
Mm.
promotions, or they have done a lot of promotions in the past. So can you imagine going into it? You're thinking, it was an okay month, right? Like, nah, I guess whatever we did last month or the last couple of months for client for acquisition is okay, but we're still looking for more improvements. But if you were to take out the outliers and account, you account for those, you would have actually realized that whatever we've been doing is incredible because when you take out those sales events, those inventory fluctuations, and in our case it was daily outliers. By taking those out of the equation, we realized very quickly that man, we've actually not only crushed it last month, but over the last few months, from a moving average perspective, with outliers removed, we've been doing incredible. And I think that is such a hidden insight and it's so important to always be considering outliers because man, can it impact the insights that you find. And that was really, really
Yeah.
educational for us. So really important, I think, to spread that information. Yep.
Wonderful. I've got nothing to
Mm-hmm.
add because, that's your experience. Excellent. So,
Yes,
Corey, let's wrap this up, mate. How can people
sounds good.
find you?
Yes. So my website, Corey Lindholm, is marketlead.com.au. I'm kidding. It's Michael's company. His website, so his company is Market Lead. They're one of the best agencies in the world. They do Facebook, Google ads. They do all of it. You contact them. They'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, we're here to
Let's
make you a
see.
lot of money. We're in the business of
Yeah.
making you millions.
There you go. There you go. Michael is on Facebook. He's also on LinkedIn. He's got a very handsome profile picture over on LinkedIn. He's on OnlyFans. Oops, sorry. I wasn't supposed to say that. Sorry,
No,
Michael. He's not on OnlyFans. I promise. And I
fans
think that's
only.
it.
Fans only. It's the professional version. Fans only.
Michael, where can people find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn, Corey Lindholm, and Ads by Corey, and on the PPC Unfiltered podcast. And when people tag me in posts on stuff, and when I'm on, because I'm so famous, I'm on the Optimizer podcast as well, which Michael Nadlin's never invited on for some reason, even though he's got more followers than me on LinkedIn and other channels. But maybe followers ain't enough.
Jealousy,
Anyway.
jealousy.
Excellent. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Now, the main thing, the last question I need to ask you, Corey,
Yeah.
is how's your energy now compared to when we started?
Oh, it's twice as high. If it's a 1 out of 10, I'm on a 15. I'm on a 25. I'm on a 30. I'm great, guys. Thank you guys for your time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you, Michael.
See you guys.